that was mid 2017. I used the second template, same as before, just puts the new experience in the CV and didn't work. And I was wondering myself, why did that happen? And after several hundreds of applications, I came up with the one at the far right. So one thing about the photo that I have to mention is many people discourage putting photos, but I think this is way better than the first photo that I put. So my perspective here is, if you ever want to put a photo in your CV, this is up to you totally. You can totally ignore the fact that you need to put your face on the CV. It's fine. And also new CV guidelines or templates don't even have a photo. But if you ever do, make sure that it also shows your personality. Back in the days, I was very fond of public speaking, doing sessions, knowledge sharing, and so on. This photo was actually taken during one of those sessions. I think it's one of the Toastmasters competitions. And I really fell in love with this photo because it shows who I am. And I decided to put it on my CV because without saying what I do, what I love, this shows my personality. I don't have to really say, even though it actually says public speaking in the interest, but from the first glance, one person can see that I love talking, and in a public way, because it has, I'm in probably a nice suit and holding a mic. So that means I'm in a public forum answering questions. So it gives an idea for people that I love this kind of extra stuff. Compared to the first one, probably looks like a mugshot from, I don't know, from police. The second one, probably from a party, doesn't really make sense. So I think it gives a little bit of more contrast. And you also see that I don't have my birthday. I also still have my address, which was needed. At least I thought back in the days, when you get some letters from foreign companies, if they send any contracts or so on. But for the CV now, I realize it's not really needed. And then the work experience and the education qualifications, tools and technologies and so on, then later on. So I'm not going to super detail in this screenshot what exactly I did, but that's the next one. But I probably think that you already realized that the design decisions, like the conscious decisions I made, where to put what in this CV. So all the interesting stuff I call, like, my highlight is on the top of the CV. This can even be the right side of the CV. It doesn't really matter. But the idea is that whenever somebody sees your CV, they should get an understanding of who you are. Because, so even write this thing down. CV is your portfolio. CV should be able to represent you while you are not there. So that's the whole purpose of a CV, right? Because you're submitting a CV to a company and they should get an idea of who you are without even talking to you a single word. To do that, you have to carefully craft a CV to represent you while you are not there. So that's the whole idea of a CV. So then every sentence or even every word you put in a CV must be thought through. It's not just random stuff that you put in a document to showcase your skills. It's something that you give. It's like an advertisement. It's an advertisement of yourself to present you to someone that you never met. That's the whole idea of it. Why I'm highlighting that part is, whenever we create a CV, every word we put, we have to double check or think again, do I have to put this? What value will this add? What value will this, I don't know, sentence or adding this technology will add to my CV? That's the whole point of it. Maybe the CV that I'm going to show might not serve the entire purpose, because I don't think there is like golden rule set to create CVs or any kind of portfolios, but I think you probably will get the idea, at least some tips. Okay, so now going into details. Yes, so This exactly is the same, nothing much. This CV is also the same, but I will focus on this CV on the right. I guess it's visible properly. If not, it's a bigger picture. So now I will go through some important points that I feel when making a CV. As I mentioned before, whether to put a photo or not, it's totally up to you. When you apply to European countries, they don't really care because they highly encourage us not to expose personal information. And a photo is actually personal information. It can even be biased. So whether how you look, your skin tone, I don't know, whatever, it can create biasness, which I will also come later on when to put the skills and so on. But it can create this unconscious biasness, which we can avoid by putting the CV. But if you are good looking, I don't know, probably not like me, better than me, then you can also put a nice photo, but make sure that it actually represents who you are, not like when you're in a party drinking or hiking. Doesn't really make sense. A little bit professional. So my name, the reason that I put it in a different color is we call it the calling name. So whomever reading this CV, or if I got invited to an interview, they can call me Praneeth. That's why it's a bit highlighted. Some people put an underline. It's totally up to them. But I chose put it like in a different color and a bold. Software engineer means whom I call myself or the position that I'm trying to apply. This also gives an idea for them whether I'm applying to which profile or which vacancy. And the important thing is, if you are, I don't know, fresh graduate and have different expertise and then planning to apply for multiple roles, could be you're applying for software engineer and then DevOps, or could even be like business analyst. Change this. Depending on which company you are applying and which position you are applying, change this one. And this is a good old times when I was still an IEEE member, also a young professional. Put an email that can be used to easily reach out to you. So this email should be properly checked. At least, I don't know, when you're applying to companies, probably like 50, 100 times a day, you probably will be checking your emails. So put an email that you actively use. And all the social media links that you want to put, not Facebook, not Instagram, but the professional ones, I'd say. So LinkedIn is one of the mostly used ones, so you can put that. There are other ones as well, like Zing or Indeed. These kind of things you can also put, but I think LinkedIn is the one mostly used. And a phone number, this is important also with the country code, because if you're applying for a foreign country, a foreign job, they should sometimes reach out to you via phone. These days, probably they'll just send you an email, but back in the days, they would just call and then see the possibility for a screening call, or that even could be the screening call itself. Address, please don't put it. Yeah, I will explain in a minute why not. This one, this objective that I carefully chose, what I want to achieve with my life. So whenever somebody reads my CV, like just the header itself, they'll know what am I trying to do and what my goal is. And please don't copy this one unless it's your like intention. Just try to come up with something that explains you. What are you going to do in your job or in your career, or it doesn't really matter, in your life. Don't make it depressing, but also superficial that nobody can really achieve. Just make sure it explains who you are and what you want to achieve by applying to this particular role, right? And the rest of the things that I will directly go with the interest, because presence, I think it makes sense. Just put all the blogs and Stack Overflow links. If you have GitHub, anything else, just put it there. Anything that showcases your skills. Could be a portfolio, could be like HackerRank links and so on. So here's the other thing that I will get into. But before going into that, let me tell what not to put in the CV or in the headers. First of all, date of birth, don't put it. Second of all, address, don't put it. Why? Because these are confidential information that you should not be sharing with random people, because we don't know whether when you send a CV, whom will have it. So they will have it in their, I don't know, Google Drive, emails, and when somebody get access, you are giving out free information about yourself. Date of birth, definitely no, because at least in Germany, date of birth is considered as one of the authentication. They use it for authentication purposes. So we never expose it. So even here, when somebody asks, we don't tell the birthday. They know the date, but not the year, because to make it more confidential. So why am I saying this? If you apply to a German company and have date of birth in your CV, it's a red flag. So that means this person doesn't really know how to protect their personal information. So not good. Same for the address. So address is also a very personal thing. So don't put the address. If you really want to mention where you live, just put the name of the city and the country, because if you're applying to a foreign country, they should know where you're coming from. Phone number, it's fine. Then the other one is, I've seen people confuse with biodata and a CV. Biodata is something that you have everything, every personal information, I'd say. But a CV is not. So don't put your gender. Don't put your marital status, whether you are married or not. It doesn't really matter to them. So gender in a country like Germany, where we have multiple genders, is a different topic, which I will not cover here, but it can create unconscious biasness. So I recommend not to put gender or anything related to that. That's also shouldn't really matter, because in Germany, there are some regulations that companies should not discriminate against gender, age, or anything. That's another reason that we should not put the birthday, because they can derive the age and it can create unconscious biasness. So don't put that. Let your skills speak, not your personal information. Okay, coming back into the interest. So another thing that not to put. So these are the stuff that I thought back in the days I'm interested in. I don't know why I even put chess and carom. I used to play, but it doesn't really make sense to put it here. But something I've seen many people do is they put this superficial skills like logical thinking, attention to detail, patience, team player. I don't know what they even mean. There should be proof that you are a team player. There should be proof that you are into logical thinking. There should be proof that you help each other. Just don't put it like this random words in a CV. It's a red flag, actually. Specifically, one thing that came across like a few weeks back when we were talking about this unconscious biasness. By the way, if you don't know what unconscious biasness is, it's when you talk with someone or you see someone that you create a biasness depending on one of their features. Could be how they look, could be their gender, could be where they're coming from, anything else, even religion and whatnot. It creates, that's why it's called unconscious. We don't know, we don't control over it. We have a biasness. So that can create, some bad effects. So one thing that came across during one of our sessions in this unconscious biasness is whether to put a team player in a CV or not. So personally, I don't think team player should ever be in a CV, because it doesn't really explain what it does. Those things should be evident in your work experience, whether you led a team or you did a group project and whatnot, but not in an interest or skills, because I don't think it's a problem. But anyway, in this case, when they put team player, they mention it as a red flag. Why? Because in Germany, this gender biasness is a huge topic, and they try to avoid it as much as possible. And when you put team player, if it's from a male, that means a man, it can create a positive impression. But if it's on a woman's CV, that means a female CV, it can create negative impact. Okay, so I don't believe that, but that's what the Germans say. Why? Because women, as they claim, or the researchers claim, are usually tend to be friendly with people, and they quite engage a lot with people. On the contrary, men are not. They don't really like engage in group projects or group activities. They rather do individual things. So if a man put in their CV called team player, apparently it means that they actually are doing something about being an extrovert and be a part of the team. But if a woman put it, it means that they are downplaying themselves, like, because of course they are a team player, but why do you even put it? So the reason that I'm telling is that from my opinion, it doesn't really matter whether to put or not, because I don't believe that when these men, women are inherently these kind of have these differences, at least in the CV context. But this is what Germans think, right? So the reason that I'm explaining this as an example is when you apply for these foreign countries, we have to be aware of the cultural norms and the cultural differences they have. So if you put something that triggers them, that will be a bad point. So try to avoid these kind of superficial things, in my opinion, and try to focus on what actually matters to the job. And if you can prove something, for example, let's say, I don't know, distributed computing in my interest. I have one of the project that I did with distributed computing and public speaking, because I have done several competitions and participated on them and so on. Same for non-technical skills as well. Try to like make sure that we put what's important to the job. So non-technical skill probably shouldn't be swimming as an interest, because I believe that everybody here is interested in software engineering or any type of engineering jobs in that matter, or any type of jobs that doesn't really make sense whether you know swimming or not, unless you are going to be a lifeguard or something. So I think that's very important to carefully select what do you put in a CV. Okay, I'll speed it up. So small points to mention regarding the work experience, or whether to put the work experience or education qualifications beforehand. Usually we put work experience and projects before education, because that's what we need to highlight. The exception would be whether you are applying for higher studies like PhDs or masters, then this can be different, because then education qualifications, I think, are more important than work experience, but that's totally up to you to decide. I don't have really experience when applying for higher studies, how to create CVs for that. So probably maybe check with one of them. But I do know when I review CVs, I do expect people to put work experience and their projects before the education qualifications, because everybody has education qualifications, and probably it's already mentioned in the job posting. So they should have a bachelor's degree and whatnot. It's already in the job description, and I don't really want to highlight it again because they expect me to have it. So what's important is that what makes me different than the others. So work experience, whatever I did, and it should be in the reverse chronological order, which means the latest ones first. Yes, probably you are not really happy with the job that you have now. It doesn't mean that you should put it later on and then put the most significant one in the top. Usually it's chronological order for two reasons. First, it makes sense, right? We recall our past in reverse chronology. We go back 1 year after the other. The second one is it helps the CV reviewer to understand how you progress through the career. So if you were, let's say, I don't know, senior software engineer, and then you became like an intern, they will see, and you probably should have some good explanation why that happened. Maybe you changed fields, or maybe, I don't know, you applied for a bigger companies, they don't have senior software engineers and so on. So it's always good, and it's recommended to have it in the reverse chronological order. That means the latest first, oldest last. And it also means that you don't have to put everything in a CV. That's why I keep on saying it's just the highlight of what you did. You don't have to put all the projects you did, all the job that you did. Only put the ones that you actually can present. But for the jobs, at least in the reverse chronological order, make sure that you don't have gaps in the CV. Sometimes it's not possible because, in Sri Lanka, we have to wait at least a year to get into the uni. Then there will be a gap in your CV. But for that, we probably have to do some projects and then at least do some kind of freelancing, because these things they ask in the interviews. And tools and technologies, whomever you're comfortable with, doesn't really matter how you put it. But the only suggestion that I have is please don't put percentages. Like, it doesn't make sense to say that 90% of C++, doesn't make sense. Just say whether you are good with or comfortable with, or you are expert or intermediate. These kind of Likert scale, these are mostly relative scales. But if you put 90% of, I don't know, Python, I don't know how to measure that. Like, what does that even mean? It doesn't make sense. So it's a very bad point. I would not hire that person anyway if they put this kind of percentages in their CVs. And also important, education in qualification, you don't have to put all the subjects that you did. As you can see, I never put O levels, or my scholarships doesn't make sense. But if you see my older CV here, I don't know why did I even do that. I have it. Maybe I didn't have enough qualifications to put, but it's fine if you don't have qualifications to fill. But even like, if I make this CV, if I can tell myself when I was making the CV, I would rather say, don't put these kind of stupid things in the CV, because it doesn't make sense, right? I mean, why would someone care if you were like what results you had for O levels? It doesn't make sense. Maybe unless you have like island ranks or something. And then the projects, it's also very important. Projects, I think it's a must for anyone who applies for a technical or any kind of jobs related to their domain. Put the project name and a very brief description. Nobody really cares to read. I mean, I know this might sound harsh, but I would like you to see these things from someone who reviews hundreds of CVs when we open a vacancy. Many people will apply, like hundreds and thousands of people will apply, and we only have maybe 2-3 people reviewing these CVs, and we don't have time. We don't, because we also have a full-time job, right? And we do it while doing all those things. We don't have time to read hundreds of pages or hundreds of lines. Just make it brief. What does this project do? And the technologies, if you have used anything. In here, I also made that mistake. As you can see, no technologies and whatsoever, maybe in here, but not for some other things. Also put the technologies, list of technologies that we used for the project. And best case scenario, if it's live, put a link. Could be a GitHub repo or the live version of the projects. And don't do this. This is like my younger self making mistakes. IDEs, they're not skills. They're tools. Don't put it. Doesn't really matter because they're not skills. And oh man, I have a lot of projects. This is another mistake I had. I wanted to put everything, almost everything. This is not even everything. So as much as possible in the CV, and this CV looks a bit crammed. As you can already see, this has 2 columns, and I filled it with, even here, with information. I wouldn't write the CV like this again. So the reason I chose my own CV is exactly to explain what I learned by making CVs and also reviewing them. So I have a lot of information in this CV, a lot that even doesn't make sense. These are my personal projects. Very early in the days, I wouldn't even show this code to someone else. They would really look bad upon me. So they are not good. But these projects, they make sense. So I would just limit my list of projects maximum to 5. That's, I think, the upper level that we can go. Don't put everything in a CV because, as I mentioned, it's not your life story. It's your highlight. What are the best These kind of things. So feel free to do that. But as I'm already see, don't put a lot of information here. And one of the most common questions I get while explaining these CV tips is where to put courses that we followed or the certificates we get from Udemy. My simple question is don't, because they are not qualifications. Udemy courses, Coursera courses are not qualifications. Anybody can do that. So my golden rule would be put things that you worked hard for. If something can be earned very easily, that means everybody can do it. So it doesn't really add a lot of value. Anybody can follow a Udemy course and get this nice automatically generated certificate, also with a digital signature. Anybody can get that. So it doesn't really have any value. But what adds value is you learn something out of it and you do a project and you put that project with a GitHub link and so on in your CV. So that adds value, not adding certifications. I think this is one of the this is the gist that I have for making CVs. I think we have more questions, but also regarding the referees, I have one more thing to say. Many people don't put the referees. It's fine, but there are two sides. Either put the referees, either don't put the referees. Don't put like referees upon request. I don't know, it doesn't make sense. But if you do put referees, make sure these are people you actually have worked with. They really have some things to tell about you and your work pattern or experience and whatnot. And yeah, ideally be in the same domain as you want to apply for. I don't know. I mean, I cannot say don't put, but it's not really ideal to put people outside of your expertise. Let's say if I'm applying for a software engineering job, I probably would not put a lawyer as my referee. Either could be someone from my university or someone actually I have worked with. So please make sure that you put these kind of things. And I cannot show the details, unfortunately, because these people, I don't want to disclose information. Tell them that you are putting them as a referee. I got sometimes calls from some companies like, hey, this person has put you as the referee. I'm like, what? I don't even know. So please tell them beforehand, hey, I'm putting you as one of my referees, and which information to use, what's the designation, what's the phone number or the email address, and so on. And especially regarding email address, don't put their Gmail addresses unless they're working in Google. But I think for Google, they have at google.com. Use their official email address. That gives a little bit of weight. They are not random people that you found on the street. They're actually some people you worked with and having a proper work email. So do that. So one last thing. Many people ask, where did I find this template? I didn't find this template. I made this my own. So that's another thing that I want to highlight regarding templates. It's better if you can create your own CV because it gives this unique presentation. As I mentioned, CV is your representation when you are not there, right? If you use a very boring template that everybody uses, it will immediately lose your the impression. It doesn't mean that your CV will be rejected, but it loses the interest on the person who's going to review your CV. So try to make it a little bit unique. It doesn't mean that you should not use templates. Use a template. It saves a lot of time, but try to make it at least a little bit different than what it actually was in the first place. So this one, I made it using, I think, Adobe InDesign, which is not a really easy software to use. But now I think you can use tools like Canva or any other design tools to make a proper CV. But on the topic of templates, something I have to mention is these CVs most oftenly will be used read by a software. We call this ATS. It's automated, I think, candidate, something like CV processing tool, which reads the CV, could be the PDF format, and extract the information and then put them in the correct fields. For example, they extract my email address, my phone number, my qualifications and everything. They extract it from the software, extract automatically, and then put this information in the internal system. We use a tool called Greenhouse. So it has this feature, you upload a CV and it automatically extracts. If you use a very sophisticated template, which these tools cannot read, it will lose information. And this person, whomever reviewing this CV or is in charge, might not feel super motivated to do that manually. It's just as a minor thing. It doesn't mean like not to use Canva or any other thing, but make it as simple as possible. Don't put like hundreds of layers and like groupings and so on, which the softwares cannot read. Make it simple, but make it appealing. So that's my tips that I can give. And then the last point, I keep on saying last point, but how many pages? I think the best case scenario, it will have 2 pages. 3, not really good. So the first CV I had, it's very long. It has 3 pages. I wouldn't make it again. 1-page CV, fine. But we have to make sure that we can put everything that's important in a single page, which I cannot do. It's very hard to pick things that that can only be put in a single page. It's very hard. It's way harder than we think. So I usually recommend 2 pages. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. But one last point. So I've seen many people when they apply for foreign jobs, because this is exactly the topic of today. When we apply for foreign jobs, they apply to 10, 20 companies, and they're like, I applied for this amount of companies and nobody replied. Surprise, that's how it is. They don't reply because they get a lot of applications from all over the world. Like when we open an opening, we get, could be like India, Sri Lanka, from Africa, US, all over the country, we get applications, and the competition is really high. So there is a high chance that you will not even get a screening call, but hopefully they will send a rejection email. But some companies don't even do that. So don't like give up after applying for like 20 companies. That's nothing, because these companies have a lot of employees and a lot of openings, and it also means they have a lot of candidates. So it's very normal that you don't get a call back. So okay, so to know more about the CV creation and all, but this is in my in Sinhalese. It's like a self promotion here. Go to this channel. There are a lot of videos regarding the entire interview process if you want to check it out. So here is a screenshot that I found from one of my old hard disks. This has all the cover letters that I wrote. I counted, it has in this folder like 50 or so cover letters, but these are in PDF format. When I was applying, there were options. We had to write the cover letter on the website itself. For example, back in the days, we had Stack Overflow jobs. Now there is, I think it's not there anymore, but we have to write the cover letter on the website. Same for LinkedIn, but there were cases that we had to apply. So this is just 50 where I created manually, but there were hundreds of cases I wrote the cover letter on the website itself. So now you can see how much effort that we have to put to get even a call back. Out of these, so as you can see the highlight, the company that I worked in, I got the offer from this one, and there should be something else here. No, not here. So the other one, I also got some, I also got another offer from the other company. And you can also see there are other folders that like CV, like how many CVs here, like it's a lot. And the number of CVs or the job postings I applied could be easily more than 200. So that's hard So also we have to make sure when we create CVs, we don't submit the same CV for every job. If we know multiple technologies, could be C++ and Python, let's say these two. If I'm applying for a company whose main technology is C++, I probably should put C++ project on top, or even like hide the Python projects. And the other way around, if I'm applying for a company whose main technology is based on Python, then I probably should put more Python projects. That's what I mentioned. You have to do enough projects to cover all these kind of scenarios. And we should also not put everything we did. If you want to put everything we did, put it on LinkedIn, perfectly fine. Or create our own portfolio website. I also have it, I think, somewhere. So there are a lot of services offering free hosting. Get a, I don't know, template somewhere, make a portfolio and put all the projects there and put the link to the portfolio in the CV. If somebody is interested, they can easily go and check. That's it. So that's it from my side. I think we can go for questions yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Praneeth, for delivering such an insightful session. So a CV should tell who you are when you're not there. That's something I'm going to remember from when I'm creating my CV from today's session, and I hope everyone here also got something useful. So yeah, it's now time for our Q&A session, and we have some questions here. So first question is, do you have any recommendations for online resources or tools that can assist overseas students in creating a professional and impactful CV?
Short answer is no. So for students to apply for foreign jobs, if I understand correct?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a tough one. In fact, it's tough. So many people ask me, is it possible after finishing the degree, can they apply for foreign jobs? I usually say no, because the possibility and probability is very less unless you excel in your degree program. I'm not saying it's impossible. That's why I'm explaining this now. It has a very less chance. If you have done a lot of projects, if you, I don't know, get the highest possible GPAs and awards and so on, then it's entirely possible. Why I'm saying this is there are different criteria to hire someone from outside. I will give an example for Germany. For Germany, when we hire people, we check two main things, well, maybe three. But first of all, can we find this exact person or the skill set that we are finding on this person inside Germany? Because they are not a charity program, right? They hire skills. So if we can already find this particular skill set within Germany, then is the priority. But if we can justify to the foreign office, which is the organization gives work permits, yes, this person is exceptional, we cannot find anyone in like this in Germany, please let them come to Germany and work for us, then yes. But now you can already realize how hard it is to become someone whom cannot be found in Germany, right? So for that, you need work experience, you need project experience, and you need a lot of extracurricular stuff. It's not even curricular, but extra work stuff. Could be this kind of things, like IEEE. That's why, I mean, one of the reasons I was also in IEEE, apart from that, I can meet really cool people. But that gives an exposure to different cultures and different ways of working. And people, or actually the visa office needs that. So the companies, when they request CVs, they do something called this education qualification measurement. Different countries do in a different way, but in Germany, we do have two things. One is called ANABIN. The other one is called ZAB. They go through, they submit your education qualifications and all the achievements through this system, and they evaluate whether this particular degree program actually is worth. Like this particular, the qualification that they got is actually good enough for them to offer a job in Germany. There were many cases, the company offered a job, but the government didn't offer visa. So I don't want to disappoint people or discourage people. It's very hard. But it's also, on the other side, it's very much possible to go for higher studies, because that's more than welcome, because there is a low risk for governments to get students. To answer the original question, no, I don't know about any such material, but I highly recommend, if you are a student, if you want to go abroad, check these kind of education qualification programs they have in this particular country. I'm pretty sure Canada, Australia, and all the other countries that we have in the top of our list have this program, and they have the so-called the criteria for these kind of processes. So please do that.
Yes, sir. Okay, so the second question is it essential to attach a cover letter when applying for an overseas country job? If so, is there any tips and tricks that can be used to write it?
So it depends. It depends on the company. They usually ask in the job description when you apply. So for example, if they have some statement like, send your CVs to this particular email address, that behind the scenes, the expectation is that you will write a cover letter. You don't have to write a letter per se, but an email still would do. So the email shouldn't be like, here is my CV, please take a look. Don't do that. Immediately, I will trash the email. It should show your motivation. That's why it's also called the motivation letter. So this can come in a different wordings in the job posting. Send your motivation letter, or why do you want to join us, to this email address. So then I always recommend, even you don't have to put a separate PDF attachment in the email, but write a nice email. Don't use ChatGPT. Maybe you can, I don't know, but I don't really believe, at least in that sense, because it should feel personal. So that's one tip. It should feel personal. So it should give, I think, mainly two things: how awesome you are and why they should hire you. So in that way, that's why I have had all those different folders for different companies, because I have to go through the job description and then try to highlight what they want in my cover letter. So don't send the same cover letter to all the companies. I assure you 99.9% won't work, because they check whether you match their requirements, and then they will see. So your cover letter should be the highlight of how, that's why I mentioned how awesome you are and how well you match the job description. So how awesome you are doesn't mean that you did this and that, but it should also, it highlights the qualification they required, and whether you you have them, and then how up to a certain extent you have them. For example, they might ask 3 years of C++ programming, and if you can tell in the cover letter, not just I have 5 years of experience in C++, doesn't necessarily have to be a working environment though. If you actually have done projects, so I have 5 years of experience, and also I did this and that project in C++. So it gives an idea of how well this person actually read the description. Fun fact, there were 2 cases in the job description. It was a very long job description, and it said in the middle, or like a very unobvious way, if you mention a particular word, I forgot it, it's like a magic word from a movie or something. If you mention this particular word in your cover letter, you will definitely get an interview. And I was like, what? And in fact, that's a trick many job postings have to see whether this person actually reads the description. And I did that. Like, why not? Sure. I put this magic word. I forgot this one. I think it's a spell or something from one movies. And I got an invite for an interview. And the other fun fact is the company that I actually work in now, they also mentioned in a very sneaky way, this person should have solid experience in software engineering. And it immediately clicks like, they're asking for solid principles and some things like that. And in my cover letter, I also very sneakily inserted this sentence like, I'm pretty confident with solid principles and I've used it multiple times throughout the project and so on. And that impressed them. So my tip, always read the job description end to end multiple times and understand what they want and try to highlight what they request in your cover letter. So that's usually the tip. And don't make it like a letter long, like huge pages. It should be like 1 or 2 paragraphs. That's it.
Yeah, so from what I understood, writing a cover letter, that depends, and we should explain how awesome we are and whether we are qualified for the job, right?
Yes, exactly. So I should definitely highlight why they should hire us by highlighting our experience. So, so don't get it wrong when I say how awesome I am. It doesn't mean that how awesome really I am, but how much experience I do really have regarding their requirements. Those things should be highlighted in a cover letter.
Great, so thank you. So the third question is, what is the difference between the CVs when applying for a foreign MSc and for foreign job?
So as I also mentioned earlier, I don't really have a lot of experience regarding applying for higher studies, but from the little that I know is mainly what you highlight. So jobs, they usually care about the projects and the technical skills that you have. So it could be the projects you did, I don't know, in your free time or freelancing and whatnot. But for master's degrees and higher studies, they definitely check your education qualification, the degree you have, the GPA, and the research projects that you did. If you did any kind of, I don't know, literature surveys or publications, that's very important. And also extra work. So whatever the societies or this kind of communities that you work with. But don't quote me on this because this is only from my experience and I have a little through about this foreign, the higher studies in foreign countries.
Okay, so those series should focus more on the projects and our experiences, right?
Yeah, so it's evident, right? So why do I need to hire someone for my company? Only by looking at their technical skills, right? It doesn't mean that we don't need people who does researches, but that's a different thing. But our highlight or our main focus is to hire technically skillful people. But for education, I think it's definitely some on the other side. So more research and then more academically well-performing people. And one more thing that I have to mention here, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't apply for jobs that you don't have expertise in. So maybe the job posting asks about Python, cloud, or somewhat all the current trending topics. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't apply. In fact, I did that. The job that I got from Trivago, it was about Python cloud backend engineering. I had almost zero experience in those technologies. I still applied and I still got the job. Why? Because this is very important, and thanks for bringing this topic up. Foreign companies mostly think about the core skills we have, not the technologies. Because everybody can learn programming languages, everybody can learn technologies, but nobody can learn attitude. So it should come from within. So I went to the interview like, at the beginning, I mentioned, I don't know Python. I mean, I had very little experience. I said, I don't know Python. I don't know cloud. You can ask me anything else, any concept, any optimization, any algorithm, I will answer you, but no Python, no cloud computing. And they're like, yeah, sure, why not? And then they focused only on my core skills. That's after years now being in this company and now in a different role, of course, doing multiple interviews, I realized that's actually how it is. We focus on the person because the technologies can be easily learned. So you hire someone, give 1 month Python expert, no problem. You spend 3 months, you can get a cloud certified person. That's not a problem. But the skill set and the mindset behind, that's what companies hire, not the skills. Yes, skills plus point. It doesn't mean, okay, I don't have any skills, please hire me. That won't work. But the attitude of learning. So one tip is, whenever in an interview, somebody asks about something that you don't know, be open and say, I don't know, but given an opportunity, I will learn. And I have proven that I can learn new things by XYZ projects. So that's how you always should pitch. It's a marketing call, right? It's just a marketing call. You have to market yourself. So yes, we focus more on the personality and the attitude, a little bit on the skills. I cannot say no, like we don't care about the skills, but a little bit about the skills. To justify the work permit and visa process, yes, you need the skills and the education, but for the job, we mostly care about the attitude. Yeah, because there were many cases, I can give hundreds of examples. There were many cases we rejected the top performing candidate. I can give one example. We were hiring for, that was actually for a student job. We asked about this behavioral question. It said, what was during past couple of months something challenging that happened to you, and how did you overcome it? And this person mentioned that they had a group project to do, and then they proposed something in the beginning and they tried it but didn't work, and then team got together and decided something else, and this person keep on saying that his solution was better and even tried to prove it, but they didn't ask. And then a week before the presentation, nothing was done. So zero progress on the project. And then they took over the project and did them themselves and then submitted the assignment. And I mean, on the surface, it looks perfect, right? The perfect candidate taking up the challenge. But no, that was not what we were looking for. We need someone who can work in a team. It doesn't matter you do everything alone. We need someone who can work in a team and then learn from the team and teach the team. And we got someone else who was very technically less competent, but they are still working in our company. They are still learning, probably way more than the other person if we ever hired them. So that's what I mean, like very simple example. We hire attitude, not the skill.
True, sir. I think everyone here would agree on the fact that at the end, what matters is the attitude and the personality. So thank you for highlighting on that fact. So our next question we have, is the format of the CV differs from my country to another?
Not necessarily. The format is usually fine, but what you put is more important. That the things that I mentioned, like try to be as culturally acceptable as possible, not offending people, and not being too direct on the CV. That's why I mentioned, like, don't put this superficial stuff like team player, logical thinking, and so on. It doesn't really make sense. So the format, I don't think it's really important, but when we apply for foreign countries, we should definitely think about how we word things, like even in the project descriptions and like group work and so on, how we present it. I cannot give exact concrete examples here because it depends on the company, the country that the person is applying. But probably we'll know from common sense that, okay, we shouldn't tell this to a German. You know what I mean? So something like that. Just do some Googling, just see how their culture is, and then whether to put it in the CV. I don't think like most of the time it will really matter, but there can be some triggering cases. Yeah.
Okay. So the next question is, which countries usually have companies with the best working environments, salaries, and growth opportunities?
Which is also a very subjective question. Okay, I'll try my best not to be subjective. So this is my personal opinion. Don't quote me on this. So this is the disclaimers that I always give. This is my experience. In my experience, European countries has the best work-life balance. It's also a scale. So it doesn't mean Italy or Spain has the same work-life balance as Germany or let's say Switzerland or even Norway. It differs, but comparatively, I would say it's a little bit higher than all the other countries, mainly because of the European regulations on the labor law. For example, if I sign a contract for 40 hours a week, I should only work for 40 hours a week. I shouldn't even work 1 minute more than that. And by my contract, I am eligible for minimum 25 vacation days. So that wording is very important. It's minimum 25. That means I can take whatever the number of vacation I want. This depends on the company, of course, how they put it in the contract, but this minimum number is important. You have to take that vacation, otherwise you will be kicked out of the office. So nobody will say, yeah, there is this production release. Can you work an extra day? No, that will never happen because it's against the law. Nobody can make you work on your vacation days. So there are a lot of these kind of labor laws in Europe, which protects the employees for, and also you cannot fire people. I think that's the same in Sri Lanka as well. And if you fire someone, it has to be either the company is going down or there's a huge company restructuring. And for example, in Spain, there is another rule. If you, I think if you close down an office, you have to compensate everyone with the same amount of money. So you have to make sure that everybody gets a job after you close the like firing people. So there are these kind. I'm not really the expert on these laws, but I've seen these kind of cases where Europe actually protects employees a lot. And also, I'm telling this because I live in Europe, and I also experience this every day. So this is like, yeah, work-life balance. Yes. And the other question was regarding opportunities, was it?
Yeah, best opportunities and salaries.
So on the other hand, I will talk about the salaries. It also depends on the country and also the cost of living. So, probably like Norway, Sweden, Switzerland are one of the, like a few of the most expensive countries. So it doesn't really matter how much you earn, there will be a huge cut in taxes. And the cost of living is also very high. For example, in Germany, I think it's the highest tax you can get is 42%. And in Switzerland, I think it's 50%, almost 50% or so. It also depends on the country. Yeah, so also same for Norway and Sweden. They have very high tax rates, but these taxes actually work. So you have proper transportation, healthcare, education, and so on. So I think it's fine. The salary, that means yes, it's a proportion, right? It does. If you make, let's say, 100,000 euros per year, probably 40,000, 50,000 will be gone for taxes. So the rest we have to manage. So it also depends on the lifestyle we choose, whether we usually eat out, we travel, or all these things. So I cannot really say the salaries and how much you can save and so on. It totally depends on the person, but comparatively salaries are high, but also remember taxes are also high.
Okay,
and yes, one last point on the opportunities. Yes, it also depends on the country that we are applying. So different countries have different expertise on different industries. For example, Germany is very has high expertise on automobile, like cars and vehicles. And Netherlands is very experienced in also online sales and also microchip related programming stuff. And Spain is also like, there are many cases where they have travel companies because they have a lot of tourists and so on. Sweden, medical related projects and all those things. But it doesn't mean that they only have these kind of opportunities. There are a lot of opportunities in general, but this is a cyclic thing. There are more opportunities, that means there are more candidates. It goes and goes on. But opportunities wise, I think is Europe. So if you have a residence permit or work permit, blue card, you can work in any other countries without a problem.
Okay, so I think that clears the doubt. And we have another question from our participants. Do we need to add link supportive documents in connecting to the LinkedIn and GitHub in CV?
So definitely put the links to your LinkedIn profile and GitHub profile in the CV. There's no doubt. I usually say regarding GitHub, I would put more the topmost 2-3 projects maximum. Overall 5. I mean, it depends on how much we do, right? I mean, if we have other projects outside of GitHub, that's also fine. So put them, but put the most the project that you are mostly proud of, let's say. But definitely put the links. If you have a blog or this kind of links, put them in the CV, ideally in the header, so people can actually see and then just go there and see if they need more information. Yeah, it's an yes. So please do that. But other documents, I don't know what it doesn't even mean. Probably the links, right?
Okay. The next question is, what are your thoughts on collecting work experience to a limited framework such as IFS? Is that good to stay or move on?
Framework in the sense, is it a company specific framework, I guess? IFS is the company that they're referring, right?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Okay, more tricky questions. So again, don't quote me on this. I'm not encouraging or discouraging people to leave or stay, but I solely give my personal opinion here. How to see whether we need to move to a different job or not? It's a very simple trick that I usually tell people. Think about the last 3 months or 6 months, if that's the extent that you want to go. Think about the last 3 months and then think whether you have learned anything new. And then anything new can be different from person to person. So someone can say, I'm doing Python now. So for the last 3 months, I learned a new Python library. That could be something they call new. For some people, this new can be an entirely different language or a framework, or even not even that, a testing framework or a public speaking, an opportunity given by the company, right? So anything can be, it depends on the person. So that's why I cannot really recommend anything to anyone. They have to think themselves and then see, have I learned anything new in the last 3 months? If yes, that means you actually are growing. If not, maybe wait for 3 more months. If it continues, you will have your answer. So why I'm saying that is, it's also not for everyone, because some people don't mind not learning anything new. They need stability. They're comfortable with what they're doing. For those people, totally fine. I know people who are working for the same company, same tool set, same languages, same technology for 15, 20 years. Fine. I mean, they like it. Who am I to say no? But for some people, they don't like it. For that, yes, try to see if you are learning something new. And if you don't, and if you really want to learn something new, then you already have your answer, right? And on the side note, no matter how experienced you are in a proprietary framework, could be that these companies make, because many companies have their own internal tools and frameworks. This is normal. If you have 5 years of experience in that particular internal tool, it adds zero value to outside. It doesn't matter, right? But if you use more widely used ones, could be open source projects, could be Apache Spark or Beam or anything that everybody else can relate to, then that will add more value than having tens of experience in an internal framework. That's very simple, I think.
Yeah, I think that clears all the doubts. And our next question is, can you give us some practical tips to write a SOP or when applying for a job?
What is an SOP?
The steps that we have to write. I think that's what it means. The standard operating procedure for writing a CV?
Standard operating procedure for making a CV?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think that's a bit redundant, right? That's what we talked in the entire session. But that, okay, I'll try to be calm and answer the question.
Sorry, sir, it's a statement of purpose.
Sorry. It's so-called the profile and the mission or whatever thing. These are very hard things to answer. You know why? Because I cannot tell people what to do, because it should come from them. That's the beauty of it. That's what makes it unique. But I can tell what I did. So everybody has a purpose in their lives, right? I guess it's more philosophical speaking. They have a purpose in their life, but don't put it there. People get depressed. But try to see how it can help you to go beyond or excel in a job. Could be helping people, could be learning new things, could be sharing knowledge. I don't know, anything. And then try to formulate in a way that it represent two things. One, how it benefits me. Two, how it benefits the company that's going to hire me. Only those two things. If you have a selfish goal, nobody will hire you. If you have a selfless goal, they will think that you just need a job to survive. That's, I think, how you can think about it. Try to cover these 2 points in any way. That's why I also mentioned in the cover letter, it's also two sides, right? What's in it for me and what's in it for you, the company that's hiring me. So these two things, I think, should go hand in hand for anything, for the CV, for the cover letter, for the thingy that you just mentioned, SOP, everything. Just mention these two things. I cannot give any more tips like Google it. It never works. That's why. If you Google something, it's not yours. You have to write it yourself.
So it should come within ourselves. We have to write it ourselves. Okay. So, so our next question is sending CVs via Indeed or Seek to overseas job. Is it actually working? I think it's LinkedIn. Sorry, so sending CVs via LinkedIn or Seek to overseas job. Is it actually working?
Yes.
So Indeed and Seek, sir. Sorry.
Yes. So yes, I applied through LinkedIn. It worked. I'm not sure if I was just lucky or my CV was good. The other one is now getting popularity is Indeed.com. For example, in Germany, it's a very popular platform, probably more than LinkedIn, I guess. Indeed is in very high demand. The other one is called Xing, Xing. That's also very high in demand. There is another one called Honeypot. So these other platforms, they also, yes, they are legit and people hire them. I know some people that got hired through Honeypot and also from Indeed as well. They work, but they don't work all the time for everyone. If that's the question is, they are legit and they give us a lot of opportunities. I think in case of Indeed and Honeypot and Sing, they have a low traffic. That means if we actually get into the platform, we will have a higher chance. That's a benefit, but it fluctuates. So maybe people will go more there and there will be more candidates. Then it will be less opportunities and something else will come.
Yeah, so thank you, sir. I think that's all we have for today. Nipuniaka, Tashini, are there any more questions?
Not from my end. That's all that we got. Any other questions?
Okay.
I think that's all. Yeah, go ahead.
I think that's all. So thank you, Mr. Praneeth, for clearing all those doubts of our audience. Yeah, so once again, we would like to express our gratitude to Mr. Praneeth for conducting this highly productive and enlightening session. Your insights and tips on creating a perfect CV for foreign country jobs were absolutely mind-blowing. And on behalf of the StudPro 6.0 organizing committee, we would like to present you with this digital token of appreciation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rennie. So today's session was indeed very successful, and today's session's success and the valuable insights we've gained are a proof to the dedication of our incredible organizing committee, the unwavering support from each and every individual involved, and of course, our outstanding speaker. So now I would like to invite Sandhini Gunawardena, the Vice Chair of StudPro 6.0, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Geetanjana. As we bring this enriching and enlightening session on creating a CV for foreign country jobs to a close, it is with great pleasure that I extend my heartfelt appreciation on behalf of the StudPro 6.0 organizing committee. First and foremost, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to our esteemed guest speaker, Mr. Pranit Piris. Your vast expertise and insights have illuminated our understanding of how to write a winning CV. I'm sure your captivating presentation has inspired all participants to reach new heights in their professional journeys. As we truly grateful for sharing your invaluable wisdom with us today. I would like to extend our deepest appreciation to Mr. Damika Marasinghe, Mrs. Varanika Hipola, and the entire IEEE ESCOM. Your unwavering support and collaborative efforts have played a crucial role in the success of this session. Also, my sincere thanks goes to Mr. Kavin Aberadna for his guidance, which is instrumental in the success of this session. A heartfelt thanks goes out to the entire StudPro 6.0 organizing committee. Your dedication and the countless hours of planning have turned our idea into a reality. Your commitment to the success of this virtual event is truly remarkable and inspiring. Lastly, but not least, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to all the participants. Your active engagement and enthusiasm have made this session highly interactive and meaningful. We are genuinely grateful for your presence, and we eagerly anticipate your continued participation in our upcoming sessions. In conclusion, I extend my deepest gratitude to all those who have contributed to the success of this session. Your presence, unwavering support, and enthusiasm have made this experience truly memorable. Stay tuned with us to continue to grow, learn, and empower yourselves as we navigate you on the path towards professional achievements. Thank you, and may you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Sandhini. And before we conclude the session, I kindly request all the participants to turn on their cameras for a group photo. Let's take 30 seconds to turn on the cameras. Dimaka, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm good to go. Okay, everyone smile. Okay, one last week. Okay, very good. Over to you, Geetanjana.
Thank you, Dimaka. So that marks the end of today's event, and it also marks the end of our Branding Yourself series. Thank you for everyone for your continuous support, and stay tuned with us as we will be bringing many more exciting sessions and programs. Once again, thank you all for joining us today. Have a fantastic day.